People, as a rule, want to be around other people who look like themselves and basically think like themselves so that they basically validate themselves. You know, well, why is that? The problem is people want to be validated with what they are right now and don't want to change. Everybody wants to hear that everything they do is just fine and dandy right now, and they don't want to have to put forth any effort to change. So you look for people who validate you, people who look like you, think like you, carbon copy of you. That's what you're going for in life. That's what most people do. But whenever you get to the point that God tells you, hey, it's time for a change, the first thing God's going to change who you're around. God's going to change the people that you find answers from, that help lead you to answers. Not really people who you find answers from, but people who you lead you to answers, who help guide you on the journey of self discovery. Yeah. And I'm going to guarantee you the first thing is it's going to be people that are basically the total opposite of you. Okay? Like I'm going to tell you, most men are going to find that women are going to be where they find their answers at. And a lot of women are going to be able to heal, and a lot of women I notice go toward the masculines. And it's not really that it's a matter of, it's not really that it's a matter of that you have to have opposite sex. But here's the thing, a lot of men have to heal their feminine side, and a lot of women have to heal their masculine side. Okay? We have both of those inside of us. And that's the first thing you have to embrace is that you have both inside of you, whether you like it or not. Okay? Well, I'm a man's man. Well, good for you. You're going to stay just exactly the same way you are as long as you look at that point of view. You know, until you learn to embrace your emotions and learn that, hey, people who are different than you might be where the answers at for you. Really. You know, whenever people are around others who validate themselves, it keeps you from having to look at yourself because it's the same people basically doing the same shit. And like, if anybody in that group like does anything different, that person gets ostracized. Trust me, I'm that guy. You know, and well, he says things that we don't like. Well, anyway, you know, but what I'm just saying is, a lot of people like if you take the average white male, they want another white male about the same age to validate themselves, or older one, that but somebody that's basically spouting the same rhetoric. Okay, and most women are the same way too. Everybody kind of wants one that's basically where it's comfort zone for you. Okay, well, see, the thing is you want people that like take you out of your comfort zone because part of growing in life is getting you out of your comfort zone. Boom. And the people who help you out of your comfort zone, generally it's going to be people that look different than you, that think different than you. But here's the thing, they're going to lead you on a journey to find you. And you're going to end up with a whole different group of people than where you're currently at. If you really want to grow in life, you have to change. And then once you change, you're going to change who you're around because you're going to start going for people who are also growing and can help you grow. And the people that you were always around, all of a sudden, you're not going to resonate with them because you're like, wow, they're just kind of short sighted. And it's not really that they're short sighted, it's just they haven't grown enough to see things from a different plane. And if they never grow, that's their prerogative. They may have it right. I don't know. But I just know from my standpoint, I've had to change who and where I think about everything. I have to change my perspective on everything for me to be able to grow and become who I'm supposed to be, who God needs me to be to do the job that I'm here to do. Am I really sure what my job here is yet? Not really. I just know that I'm here to help others become the best that they can be, to help me become the best me that I can be. See, you've got to get excited about life, and part of getting excited about life is finding people who help make you excited about life again. If you've got people who are in a monotone voice, basically giving you the same rhetoric and bullshit that you've always had, you will not change, and you're going to spout the same rhetoric and bullshit as everybody else does. Boom. But here's the thing, you've got to go within. And part of going within is finding people who challenge the way that you think and can help change the way you think. Really. People who help you to see things differently, to see you from a different angle. Yeah. See, whenever I've had several awakenings, and the thing is the people who I was told I needed to be helped by, they didn't help me at all. Honestly, they made me worse because every time I was around them, I just felt more dead. I really felt like I was dying inside. Each day I was just felt like, I was just I'd wake up and I was just I was hoping I didn't awaken a lot of days because it was just the same thing over and over and over again. Well, life's supposed to be that way. That's what people would say to me. I'm like, well, then go ahead and check me out then. Then I realized there are people out here that's happy. Well, what do they have that's different? The first thing you got to do is you got to go for a different type of people. And I'm not saying anything derogatory about you or anybody you're around right now. I'm just saying if you want things to change, you kind of got to go in a drastic nature and say, well, let me find the exact opposite of me. If I'm miserable, I want somebody that's happy. If I'm introverted, I need somebody that sounds extroverted, or an introvert who has learned how to extrovert. See, it's all about finding the opposite of you to help you. People of different races, the opposite sex. It's about not discounting anybody because of their age. I've met 5-year-olds that were wise. I've met 100-year-olds that honestly, their only purpose on life is to teach you how not to live. Miserable. And we're miserable most of the whole time I ever knew them. Age, some people say, well, they're not old enough to have wisdom. I've met people that were very young that were loaded with wisdom. I've met people very old that were piss poor examples of humanity. And I'm just being honest about it. So age has nothing to do with it. And then some people say, well, you got to be a man to know about spirituality. No, you don't. Honestly, I find a lot of my spirituality the help I get from women. Because I needed to heal the feminine side of me. And once I started healing the feminine side in me, my conflicted masculine viewpoint kind of went away. And it's like this. I embrace my masculineness. I'm me. I like to do masculine things. But the thing is, though, I have to learn to embrace my feelings and allow things to flow to me instead of me chasing everything and trying to force everything. Feminine nature is more about allowing things to come to you. And God's told me, he's like, you're kind of at the point now where it's like, you need to trust me and allow things to come to you for a while. And I'm like, okay. And ever since I've changed my point of view on some things and kind of gotten out of that conflicted masculine point of view, I'm doing better. And there's people that I find people who are happy. People who, it doesn't matter what gender you are, what sex you like, hey, that's not any of my business. But if you're happy, share your happiness with somebody. And, once you start going truly within, you're not going to be conflicted at taking advice from people who are different from you. You're going to start saying, hey, they're different. They have a different experience and they might be able to help me. See, that's where we start growing in life. When we start saying, hey, somebody's had a whole different experience than I have, and maybe, just maybe, I can take a look at what's happened to them, what they've been through, and they've had a different experience, and maybe they can teach me something. See, that's where we start growing in life. That's where we start becoming the best that we can be. As we start saying, hey, people who are different than me may have something better to offer to me. Yeah. See, whenever people have more to offer to you, it's because they've been through a different set of circumstances than you have. And you have something to offer them because you've been through a different set of circumstances than they have. That's where you kind of end up with a whole rainbow spectrum of people once you start healing and growing in life. You no longer are comfortable around people just because they look like you, smell like you, whatever. You know, that's where you start finding out in life, hey, things might be different than I thought they were. And things can get better. If you tell yourself things can't get better, they will not get better. If you tell yourself things will get better, trust me, they will get better. And I don't want you to trust me. I want you to trust yourself and find out from God firsthand that things will get better whenever you start believing they will, when you start knowing they will. But the first thing you have to do is realize that, look to people who are different than you to find answers or to help lead you on a different path, because sometimes you need people who are different, that have a whole different perspective, because whenever you're going down this path, you need people who are different than you, who have been through a whole different set of circumstances than you have, who have grown up in a whole different way than you have, who see things from a whole different way than you, to help lead you down a path that leads you to looking at you from a whole different way, seeing you from a whole nother angle, that sees you from a standpoint of, I am enough, I am happy, I love me today. You've got to look at it from a standpoint of, how did these people learn how to love themselves in a different environment than I did? And how have I been around people and I really don't like me? How can I learn to love me? And love me, the me that's here right now. Not the me that I want me to be, but the me that's here right now. See, that's the thing that you have to look at. You have to look at different people to find those things, and to find the different you, to find the you that you've been looking for. Yeah. See, you've got to go different to be different. If you keep going to the same shit, you're going to be the same shit you've always been. Okay? If you want different, go for different. And if you want people that's just going to basically, applaud you for the same thing you've always done, keep doing what you've always done. And you can be mediocre, happy with mediocrity. But nobody's ever happy with mediocrity. Nobody's truly ever happy with mediocrity. God wants you to want to be better so you can help others be better. And part of that's saying, I'm not going to be happy with me till I'm happy with me. Truly happy with me. Till I truly like me, even the dark parts of me. We have to learn to embrace our shadow aspects. That's the parts of ourselves that we just don't like. The parts of us that we don't think anybody else will embrace. Trust me, there's somebody out there that will embrace the dark parts of you, because other people have those same dark aspects of themselves. Yeah. You just got to learn to look at things differently, to feel things from a different perspective, to say, it's going to be okay. And learn that it's safe to embrace those parts of you. And then once you embrace those parts of you, then you can start changing those parts of you. And you're like, the way out is through. You've got to learn to embrace you in order to change you. You got to push through those parts and learn to embrace those parts before you can learn to love those parts and then ultimately change those parts. And then sometimes you may find out that, hey, those parts aren't that bad. It was just parts of you that people told you were bad because they didn't want you being different than them, because they don't like different. They don't like change. You know, the first thing you got to learn is that everything's always changing. Right now, and 1 second from now, the world's just changed. Yeah, it will never be the same again. Really think about that. And that's when you can start looking at things and saying, hey, things are going to get better. I know they're going to get better. God tells me they're going to get better. I know they're going to get better. And the only way they're going to get better is when I get better. When I become the me that I want to be. When I become the me that God needs me to be to help others become the them that they need to be too. So I understand that different's good. And if you want different in your life, seek different. And until you seek different, you're going to get the same bullshit over and over and over and over until you vomit. Anyway, I'm Josh. I love you. God loves you. Peace.